Adab, Salam, Namaskar. Welcome to New India Education Trust Beyond Classroom, my experiment with teaching series. Friends, in the previous episode, I spoke to you about my experience, the first-hand experience of teaching of English when I started my career as a teacher at Sainik School, Chittorgarh in the year 1982. I told you that that was the time when, for teaching of English, we were using a structural approach to teaching of English. And I gave you some idea of what structural approach is, where there was more emphasis on the pattern of sentences that we as teachers, we had to drill those patterns of sentences in the classroom. Practice, 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 drilling, drilling, drilling. That is what we used to do. Anyway, I told you last time that in this next episode, I'll be talking about a friend, about a senior colleague who had been helping us in developing our vocabulary and developing our teaching skills. You know, all senior colleagues, whether they belong to that department, as I was in English department, whether they would from that department or not, but still they were helping us. Here, I would like to talk about one of those seniors. His name was M.S. Rautela. He was very senior, of course, because when I joined Sainik School, he must be around 54, 55, or 56 years old at that time. Because I remember he retired, before I left Sainik School. I left Sainik School in 1989. Before that, he retired. I met him a few years back when I visited Chittorgarh. He was around 90 years, and it was a pleasure to meet him. Here I would tell you in this episode how this gentleman, this senior, Mr. M.S. Rautela, was helping the new teachers, helping his young colleagues. Sainik schools, they have a routine, because in Sainik school, the children are groomed to join National Defense Academy, armed forces. So we used to follow a routine. I would not give you the whole routine, actually, the full routine, but I would mention that after the lunch, around 1 o'clock or 1:30, everybody would go and have rest. The children, they would go to their dormitories. The teachers, the staff, they would retire to their apartments, to their flats. Everybody would be resting. The campus would be quiet. The campus would stand still. But then at around 4 o'clock, 4 p.m., there would be a siren. A siren that now is the time to go out and play, the sports time. When the sports time comes, everybody would get ready in white, the sports dress, usually white shoes, white socks, shorts, and white t-shirt. And teachers, of course, they would go with their, play equipment, like maybe if I like badminton, I would have a badminton racket or lawn tennis racket or whatever you want to play. So everybody would assemble in front of the dining hall, big playground. We had so many football grounds, actually. The school campus was very big. We had many football grounds, basketball grounds, badminton, then volleyball, all facilities, and one athletic track also. So all the students, they would assemble house-wise, in that big ground. And the physical education department, those teachers, usually they were from the armed forces. They would also come with the whole equipment. The groundmen would be ready to distribute the material, the equipments. And then it would be decided who is going to play basketball, who is going to play volleyball, football, all that. It would be done like that. But first, the attendance would be taken. Now here, teachers also would come. Those who are on duty, they will come It was mandatory for them because they were on duty. And those who were not on duty, it's up to them. It was optional for them whether they would come or not. We were young, especially my roommate, Mr. D.K. Sharma, and I. We were new whether we were on duty or not. We used to go and play. No family, at that time we were bachelors. So we would go, other teachers would come. This gentleman, very senior, Mr. M.S. Rautela, whenever he would come, he would always be seen with a book in his hand. We always saw him with a very thick book in his hand. And usually that book was a novel. English, of course. What he would do when he would meet us, he would, after the greetings, he would speak something, a sentence with a very difficult word in that sentence. We would be puzzled. Sometimes would not understand. We might understand the meaning, through the context of the sentence, but the correct exact meaning of that word, we might not understand. We would ask him about the meaning of that word, but he would never tell us. He would not tell us. He would say, okay, go to your apartment, go to library, find out a dictionary, and search the meaning of this word and use it in your own sentence. This is, he would tell us. We had no choice because the next day, again, he would make sure that he would ask us about that word. Either we have to use or we have to tell him the meaning. The meaning, not enough, but use that word in a sentence. We had to make a sentence using that word. So that is actually how the vocabulary is developed. If you want to have more of your active vocabulary of any language, the words, the new words, the difficult words that come before you, use those words in your sentences. Unless you make use of those words will not be yours. They will not be part of your active vocabulary. Active vocabulary and passive vocabulary. What is passive vocabulary? That sometimes when we are listening to somebody, we understand what he is saying. But those words we are not using in our own sentences, in our own daily life. So those words remain part of our passive vocabulary. To have it in the active vocabulary, we should start using those words frequently in the sentence. And whenever we want, we can use those words. If we are doing that, those words are part of our active vocabulary. That is how a language is developed. That is how we develop our vocabulary. Unless, we have more and more of words to use in our language, if we really are good at, so we have to use those words in our daily sentences. When we speak the language, when we use those words become ours. This is what Mr. Rautela used to do us. He used to help us every day without fail. Whenever we would meet during sports time, especially, he would speak a sentence with a difficult word in that. And when we would not understand, he would give a very pleasant smile. He would just smile and tell us, okay, go to your dictionary, search the meaning, and use this word in your sentence. Believe me, he would not spare us the next day. He would ask us to make a sentence using that word. And that is how we grew. I think every teacher, every senior of ours was helping us in one way or the other. And we were really enjoying. And that was how our seniors helped us in growing and grooming, and they were rather grooming us into this profession of teaching. This is, I must salute Mr. M.S. Rautela, who is no more. I met him few years back when I visited Chittorgarh. I pray for him. I pray for his soul, that may his soul rest in peace. Thank you, sir. You helped us in growing into this field of teaching, into this field of education. Thank you. Thank you, my dear friends. Thank you, my dear seniors. You helped us a lot. Thank you, sir. Dear friends, hope you got my point. What I wanted to tell, that we as seniors, we have to help our juniors. We have to help our young teachers or young colleagues who are coming into that profession. And this is what our seniors did. For today's episode, I think that's enough. And thank you for listening and watching New India Education Trust Beyond Classroom. Thank you. Shukriya. Dhanyavad. Have a great time and wait for the next episode. Thank you once again. Have a great time.